Assassin's Creed publisher Ubisoft says many new games are struggling as players turn away from traditional releases in favor of subscriptions, live service, and free-to-play games, is an article by IGN's Tom Phillips talking about Ubisoft's take on the current market for video games. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to RevoRadio. Now, before I give my thoughts and opinions about this topic, let's first dive in just a little bit into this article. Ubisoft has warned of falling company revenues and said it's seen that many new games are struggling to stand out as players turn away from traditional full-price releases. Projects that would previously have stood out are now finding it tough to achieve the sales they may once had, which Ubisoft has apparently written in their financial filing, which in this article says they're blaming the wider change in taste among players, but really, translation? It's all your fault. But it's all because you won't play any of our $80 games. Pretty much. Explaining that the traditional full game model of selling a single 50 to 60 euro or 65 to $80 game to a consumer as a one-time purchase was continuing to become less ubiquitous. 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 Ubisoft said players are now opting to spend their time and money in other ways, such as subscription services, long-running games as a service titles, free-to-play games, and cloud streaming. And then the rest of the article is just trying to justify or at least make sense of why Ubisoft would even say all this stuff in their financial report. Because, all that drama in the past year, Tencent essentially acquiring a substantial portion of Ubisoft, bad business practices, and pretty much the overall downfall of Ubisoft that we are witnessing right before our eyes. The bigger they are, the harder they fall indeed, and sometimes they fall way too hard into China's deep pockets. But I digress. We're here to talk about Ubisoft's remarks, specifically about gamers preferring live service or free-to-play titles over buy-to-play games. Largely, I think it's a huge misconception from Ubisoft, partly because they've been trying to nudge their way into the games-as-a-service model for over a decade now, with varying results. Mostly failures, but let's not forget that Rainbow Six Siege is widely successful and the crew still had a cult following despite all the drama surrounding it. Was the crew profitable? Honestly, I haven't the faintest idea, but it was definitely a somewhat success considering it spawned 3 more titles after the original. But when it comes to live service games, Ubisoft has been having a really hard time nailing it. Ubisoft has been desperate in trying to get their live service games to work that they've ended up burning through and sunsetting a ton of their online game projects because they never ever worked. Even their arguably biggest live service title, Rainbow Six Siege, is a sinking ship that they've been desperately trying to cling on to. And their other live service games, never really even sailed to begin with, but they're keeping it around, probably for optics. But something else that I don't see a lot of people realize is how big a game company like Ubisoft actually is. Since its inception in 1986, Ubisoft has made over 500 games and published over 1,000 games so far. And even Call of Duty's publisher, Activision, is only trailing behind Ubisoft at around 900 games published as of writing. I'm telling you this because we're talking about a company that's published over 1,000 games, have made hundreds of games, and yet still can't nail it when it comes to live service games, which I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that they've spent their entire fortune on, only to fail miserably, and the company now has to cling to and leech off a foreign entity, which in this case would be Tencent. Now looping back to the main topic, do gamers prefer live service games over buy-to-play games? Well, yes and no. It really just depends on what region you're catering to. If you're catering to the entire world, then yeah, I guess it's safe to say that free-to-play games drive more players into their ecosystems, but if you're looking to sell your games to premium Western markets, I think the story is a little bit different. A little bit of context, I live somewhere around Southeast Asia where people my age predominantly play free-to-play online games like CS2, Dota 2, Valorant, League of Legends, and even the not so well known in the West, Mobile Legends, and even gacha games like Genshin Impact, while the younger generation are pretty much inseparable from Roblox, which is also free. While there is still a pretty substantial customer base that buys premium games in my country, the majority of the folks who still play video games spend a lot of time with one of these free-to-play live service titles, and even the demographic that actually spends money on premium video games still spend a lot of their time playing one of these free-to-play titles. Let's take me for example. I buy a lot of games. Oops, sorry, there we go. I buy a lot, and I mean a lot, of video games, but even with my extensive library of hundreds of games, I think I've ever only played around 20% of them. And even then, most of my time spent on gaming is doing my dailies in Zenless Zone Zero, playing with my friends with Skull Legends Royale, and quite recently, grinding away and losing substantial hours of my life in Where Winds Meet. And all of those games are free to play. But I'm still interested in premium titles, it's just that there aren't enough hours in the day to let me play every game I'm interested in, and unfortunately, sometimes the newest titles suffer for it. And I feel like the only way to really compete with the live service games as a premium title is to release a game that's simply irresistible. But that's only my perspective on things, so let me know in the comments down below if you have an entirely different experience. That said, I don't think premium buy-to-play games are falling out of favor, or in this case, flavor in the gaming market. Single-player experiences like Black Myth Wukong managed to peak at 2.4 million concurrent players, casual co-op survival experiences like Palworld managed to peak at 2.1 million concurrent players, and even this year's Monster Hunter Wilds peaked at 1.1 million players, while premium online games like Battlefield managed to reach over 500,000 concurrent players, and Orc Raiders with just about 500,000 concurrent players. And these metrics are only based on Steam alone, not counting the player base on other stores like Epic or Xbox, and not even counting the console and mobile player base. And based on these metrics alone, the premium single player games far exceed a lot of free-to-play and live service games by a mile. A couple of milli. So Ubisoft saying that people aren't interested in buying premium games anymore, it's probably true for their games, but not for video games in general. And I can kind of understand why Ubisoft is even saying these things, and it's primarily because this is just absolutely embarrassing for them. Assassin's Creed Shadows, their latest premium game from a long-running series of almost 2 decades that costs $70 and promises the world, or the Japanese world, to its audience, is being overshadowed by a game from a single developer that once had an overfixation for milk. I know that's you, Danny boy. Oh, what was that? It's an unfair comparison because Megabonk is only priced at $10? Oh, okay then.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
It's still an unfair comparison because Monster Hunter Wilds is multiplayer?
Man, get your ass on, boy.
Like, quite literally, Ubisoft has been blaming the players instead of blaming their games. And this toxic echo chamber, their refusal to look at and accept the reality that's right in front of them, is what I believe is destroying this company. And because of how blind they are of what's happening around them, they don't even realize that somebody else has already made the framework, the blueprints for the live service model that they've been looking for.
No.
This is a model that I expected from Ubisoft when they unveiled or announced their Assassin's Creed Infinity platform, but after Skull and Bones and Assassin's Creed Shadows, it does seem like Assassin's Creed Infinity won't be a gateway for a larger community to get into the Assassin's Creed franchise, but rather yet another get-rich-quick scheme from Ubisoft. And from what I've read so far, Assassin's Creed Infinity, now called the Animus Hub, is simply a platform, much like Steam, where you can compile and launch any installed Assassin's Creed game, with the addition of it acting as an all-encompassing compendium of Assassin's Creed info, history, and other goodies from all of their Assassin's Creed games. But it doesn't really make any sense to spend development cost on a platform that you can't even monetize, so my prediction is they'll eventually start adding premium battle passes and maybe even a subscription that gives you access to all Assassin's Creed games in their library. Sounds neat and all, but it's literally an Assassin's Creed Game Pass. So, as the Southeast Asian that's a longtime fan of Assassin's Creed, what do I want that will keep me in the loop and get me excited for even more Assassin's Creed? I know this is gonna sound really stupid, but Assassin's Creed, where winds meet. I'd love to discuss it more, but while writing this, I realized that Ubisoft is pretty much cooked at this point. So it doesn't really matter what I have to say about a hypothetical free-to-play Assassin's Creed game, and I highly doubt they're even interested. But if you want me to discuss this hypothetical free-to-play Assassin's Creed game, let me know in the comment section down below, and maybe we'll make a video. Now, I've been yapping for far too long now, and I guess it's just time to end the video. To summarize, gamers still buy and play premium games, just not Ubisoft's, and here in the Outbacks, we love our free-to-play titles. Also, Ubisoft making a game about sinking ships is ironically causing their own ship to sink. Anyway, that's all for today. Leave a like if you like the video, feel free to start a discussion in the comment section down below, and I've been playing a lot of Where Winds Meet, and I'll start streaming it very, very soon. So make sure to subscribe and hop on the live. Anyway, that's all for now, and bye-bye.
Get your shitty videos right here. Watch more, drop more views. We'll be back with more, so stay tuned to RevoRadio.